Hi, my name is Adeolu Adewumize. I'm the MD of Alliance in Nigeria, listening from Lagos, Nigeria. And I love and thank IBS Podcast for what they're doing, promoting insurance and technology for the benefit of Nigerians and Africans across the continent. Keep up the good work.
Hi, everyone. I'm hoping that you had a restful weekend. I did, judging by the fact that we had a successful webinar, a webinar that spoke about the agribusiness industry, which surprisingly for me is an industry that is booming. But then again, there's a bit of, let's say, knowledge gap. But it was quite amazing and it was interesting. And, we had thought leaders who were panelists that came on board and were able to share their thoughts. Damola, how are you and how was your weekend?
Hi, thank you very much. My weekend was just about going back to all of the conversations that occurred during that event on Tuesday last week on the 23rd, and then just looking at what can be done, where innovation can play a role, where insurance can do better. And there are a lot of talking points really, and it was quite interesting. All of those conversations. So it was a packed weekend for me because I was trying to gather a lot of knowledge and understanding about some of the perspectives that were shared during the conversation.
But what do you think? For me, I felt like, from the conversations that we had, especially from, Bank of Industry, Victoria, where she mentioned that a lot of, insurance companies sort of had, defaults when it was time to pay on some bonds. What do you think could have been an underlying issue, judging by the fact that insurance is a company set up, I like to say set up to pay claims? Do you think that it must have been the farmer's fault, or I don't know? Like, it's just amazing me.
Yeah, I was surprised as well, and that question really, I love to have answers to that as well, because I feel like there'll be a lot of things that have contributed to that. But just looking at it generally, right? Insurance can definitely play a huge role, and this is us talking about insurance in the agri space, in the Nigerian space. So when you now begin to talk about the African Free Trade Agreement, then that's another level. So it means that even as the reality of AFTA comes, we have to get our things right and begin to. I think many of the things many of the conversations and the concerns and the points that were raised, stem from a sort of a lack of communication. Right, you hear insurance say, "Hey, we pay claims, we do this, we're doing that." The people on the ground are saying, "Hey, we are not seeing you doing these things. We have had bad experiences before. We have done this. We are not getting the right services that we want and we need." I think communication is something that we need to take serious, right? And so it was quite interesting to hear what Pula was doing. Thomas Unjeru, who is the co-founder of Pula, sharing his thoughts as regards how they engage, the rural, small-scale farmers. And he alluded to the fact that Nigeria is really their biggest market. And so looking at what they are doing already, I know that the opportunities even within Nigeria is huge, not to talk of, now looking at the African market, which is definitely still up for grabs.
So yes, it's quite interesting what you said about Pula, and I like the fact that they've been able to break down most of their models, to accommodate a lot of small scale enterprise, which I think is fantastic. And talking about some of this, remodeling of business, our next conversation with our guest speaker has to do with how they've been able to remodel and, rescale insurance sales. It's so amazing what they've been able to do with the business and how much they've been able to grow because they've made certain changes that they thought was relevant. Of course, we don't expect that change is, easy or acceptable, but then again, it would probably be the difference between your loss and your profit margin. What do you think about that, Damola?
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting conversation, right, with Saurabh Sharma. Him being the general manager for microinsurance at Britam, just to hear his thoughts as regards how they have actually reimagined this whole conversation about microinsurance and serving this emerging market. And it's going to be interesting again to hear, like you mentioned, the kind of models that they are using and how they are making it work, really. Because, one of the questions that I have, is how do you serve these emerging customers, and using bite-sized insurance products or strategy, in order to serve these customers, using this strategy and then still remaining profitable. That's the big thing there, because as an insurance company, as a company, really, you want to be profitable, right? So how do you do that and still remain profitable? So it's going to be interesting to hear what they are doing and how they are going about it, right? They're not the only players in this space here, but they're doing a good job in this space. So definitely it's going to be a valuable conversation. And they are in the eastern part of the African continent, and what we are beginning to see is that there are a lot of innovation and movement in terms of microinsurance and innovation around creating products and offers for emerging customers in that space. So it's going to be interesting to hear from someone who is playing actively.
So on that note, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Hi guys, hi listeners. Very excited to be here.
Great. Happy to have you.
All right. So can you tell us about yourself and what you've been in the past few days? There's been a lot of events.
Thank you. So I'm Saurabh Sharma. So I'm from India, but very fortunate to be here and working here in Africa in this very exciting space. I manage the microinsurance business at Britam, and last few days, I would say we have just been trying to catch up on all the time that was lost last year. So we are spending a lot more time talking to our existing partners, talking to potential new partners, exploring new things, and trying to just stay relevant in this changed world after COVID.
I envisage that it must be even busier than pre-COVID.
It is. I think people are back to work with the vengeance this year. People really want to make up for all the time lost.
It's quite interesting to hear that about the work part now, right? But personally now, how are you? How have you been? The last year plus has been quite interesting. Let me put it that way for everyone around the world. How are you? You're from India, yes, but working in Kenya. How are you?
I'm good, in fact, and like I was saying, working in Africa, but working in Kenya is so exciting, and I've been here for almost 5 years, and
okay.
I'm very passionate about using insurance as a tool to address some of the development challenges that are facing in places like India, Africa. And that's the reason that most of my professional career I have worked in this inclusive insurance space. And COVID has really brought a lot of attention to this, because we have seen how COVID has affected all of our lives, and even more for our emerging customers, our customers who are less privileged. And we have seen how COVID has interrupted small businesses, how it has affected daily wage workers. And people have been asking that how do we prevent this disruption from happening again? How do we build resilience for these customers? And insurance has definitely featured very strongly in that conversation to build resilience for for countries like India and Africa. So yeah, that has been very interesting for me personally. In fact, we are getting a lot more interest from the market on our insurance, especially health insurance products, than we had earlier.
Could you tell us more about, building this new insurance business model to reach the emerging customers? I know that you talked about the interest of customers now in insurance, especially with, this whole event that has occurred within 2020 and 2021. So how exactly have you been able to build new insurance business models to reach this emerging market?
The reason we have to build new business models is very simple. We know that insurance penetration in this part of the world is very low. In fact, in Africa, it's like 3 times less than the global average. And that means that the older business models, and by that I mean products, processes, distribution channels, haven't really worked in this market. So those models haven't served this market. We clearly need to look at new ways of reaching these customers. By that I mean trying to build new products that are flexible, that are affordable. And by affordability, I don't mean that we just reduce the premiums, but by affordability, I mean that we give value for what the customers are purchasing. And at Britam, we are exploring new ways of making things more affordable by making insurance bite-sized. So this bite-sized insurance can be, you can have smaller covers, you can have weekly, daily, movement insurance, or you can have bite-sized payments. And the same approach we are taking in terms of distribution channels as well. Distribution channels, like we work a lot with conventional channels as well, like the banks and the agents and the brokers. The future is really in digital distribution. We know countries like Kenya, where M-Pesa has been revolutionary as a mobile money platform. So is to see how do we build similar kind of success stories in insurance. And that's why we are exploring these alternate distribution channels as well. So that's just a snapshot of how we are trying to build new insurance business models.
That's interesting, right? And I've always had this question in mind. We talk a lot about, again, like you mentioned, building new products, bite-sized products. We had a conference last year, and Folumi made a presentation about sachet products for customers, especially in the emerging markets and things like that. So yes, that is there. When you are looking at all of these bite-sized products, you definitely cannot be engaging an agent. The price point is quite low, for example. But how do you definitely still run a profitable business? Because again, you're a business. Yes, you want to cover that last mile customer, but you want to remain profitable.
We started looking at micro insurance for emerging customers almost a decade ago. And for the longest period, it was a loss-making business. In fact, until 2015, we were really experiencing huge losses. In fact, at some point, even the business was under threat, because the question was do we really want to continue doing this? And so it was a long journey. But during that initial period, what I really now call as the discovery period, which was the initial 4-5 years. So we discovered a lot. We learned a lot about our products. We learned a lot about how we need to sell and distribute these products. And those learnings, that discovery period, then helped us to consolidate our business and to turn it around. And in the last 5 years, the business has been profitable. How we have achieved it is by specific intervention across the value chain. To start with the products itself, obviously, as you said, the bite-sized products. So we have products that start from as low as $1 a month. And you're absolutely right that you can't expect conventional agents to sell such products because it won't make sense for them. Mm-hmm. So what we did is, and even today, majority of our products, we sell it to groups. And the group could be different types of type of groups. It could be small, medium enterprises. It could be farmer groups. It could be self-help groups. So generally for our health microinsurance products, we start with a group of at least 10 members. And we have now insured groups as large as 170,000 customers to groups as small as 10 to 15 in number. So obviously having that group kind of approach helped us in distribution because we created specific products like for SMEs. To give you an example, one of our very successful product is the SME staff health insurance, where we insure staff under our health microinsurance products. And the kind of customers we have are like fast food chain or supermarket chain. So people who are working at the floors of these supermarkets are insured by us. So having that approach helped us a lot. It obviously makes distribution more sustainable, more profitable. But even from the claim side, it helped us in building a network of healthcare providers, hospital providers. We work with almost 400 plus hospitals across Kenya, and we were able to form close partnerships with hospitals to make healthcare more affordable as well as sustainable for our own portfolio. So I would say that is the approach that has helped us to make the business profitable. Obviously, in the later years, we are now focusing a lot on technology. So we have built like web-based portals which connect us to these 400 hospitals. A lot of our claims, in fact, in 2020, almost 60% of our claims were digital. So that obviously reduces cost, but it also makes that we are able to use these digital claim processes to keep improving. Like I said in the beginning, it's been a long journey, and always our outlook was that insurance is a long-term business. So we knew even if we are making losses in the initial years, this will turn around.
Wow. Okay, so I like the fact that you mentioned that your distribution models changed. And then, of course, you mentioned that there were specific interventions around more or less like business overall. There's a current, development of the Africa Free Trade Zone. Is Britain looking to further penetrate some markets in order to, further increase the numbers and profitability of this micro?
Absolutely. We are so excited about this free trade agreement and the progress that has been made. As you know, Britain already we are present in 7 countries across Eastern and Southern Africa region. And in most of our markets, we are among the top 5 insurers, I would say. But our strategic ambition is really to become a pan-African country. And we are looking at a lot more markets. Currently, of course, we are in the Eastern and to some extent Southern Africa region, but we are also looking at West Africa. So having this free trade and the progress that has been made is very, very exciting for us, especially as I was saying earlier, that insurance penetration across Africa is very, very low. And the simple reason is that majority of African population falls within this emerging customer segment. And to really increase insurance penetration and to build a sustainable model, we really need to figure out how do we reach out to these emerging customers. So we want to take forward the lessons and the models that we have built in Kenya to all of these countries. In fact, we are having some active conversations in some of these other countries as well, and you will soon hear about that.
Definitely rooting and waiting to hear about that. Especially when you mentioned that you're considering West Africa, for example, please, I would love to be the first to hear about that when that is concluded. Yeah. So exciting times. So I came across an article that you wrote recently, and you talked a bit about platform economy. It's something interesting that I would love you to maybe talk us through a bit and tell us how insurance can play into all of that.
Yes. So, simply put, platform economy is economic activity that is buying and selling that happens over these digital platforms. And these platforms are bringing sellers and producers of these services and products they're bringing them together to the buyers of these services and products. I mean, very quick examples would be if you look at something like Uber or Airbnb. Those are global platforms who have built this whole economy in their respective spaces, like mobility for Uber and hospitality for Airbnb, which really aggregated and brought all of buyers and sellers together. So that's how we look at platform economy. And we are really seeing a lot of growth in platform economy in the Sub-Saharan Africa region. We have seen homegrown platforms becoming big. We all know about M-Pesa, which was a mobile money platform. It has really created marketplace by enabling small merchants to build these mobile money wallets. In recent years in Kenya, platforms have come up in spaces like mobility. So we have Little Cabs, which is a homegrown mobility platform, and it's present in 4 countries in the East Africa region. And Tiba, who are like a health platform that are bringing together healthcare providers and consumers on their health wallet. And they are, I think they're also present in West Africa, in Nigeria as well. And we look at players like Twiga, which is agriculture sector platform player, and is bringing together farmers and small retailers. Some of these examples, they show how platform economy is making changes to economic activity in Africa.
Hey, this is Brian Falchuk from Boston, Massachusetts in the United States of America. I want to give a shout out to the InsurTech business series, Falumi and Damola. What you are doing to help move the industry forward in the African continent, but also more broadly for the industry at large, is so incredibly important. As I think about the future of our industry, it's conversations like the ones you're having that will help us move forward. So congratulations on the success of the show. Please keep at it.
And as insurers, we should be very, very interested in that. At Britam, in fact, we look at platform economy as the opportunity to really increase insurance penetration. And this could be, and there are a number of advantages, right, that platform economy provides. And the easiest one is platform economies provide access to large group of people. And this goes to my previous point that to make inclusive insurance work, you need large groups. So that is an immediate advantage from platforms. But other more interesting advantages are you can look at data. So these platforms are generating enormous amount of data. That could be demographic, it could be financial, even behavioral data. So all that data can be used by insurers to design products, to price products that are actually speaking to the needs of these platform users. So that is like a second very interesting advantage. And the third advantage I would say is on the operations or process side. Obviously, insurers are always slow in adopting technology. Insurers are still asking for like physical IDs or physical identification documents, but that can be really cut short or made more efficient through these platforms. The onboarding, claims, all of this could be made so much easier. So at Britam, we are betting in a big way on this, and we have formed partnerships with players like Little Cabs, like Mtiba. We have this very interesting product with Little Cabs where we insure every ride that a customer is taking. So we insure them against accident and also COVID. So they can just log on to the app and they can subscribe with one click, and they are covered for their rides for as low as 10 shilling, which is 10 cents. So we really see a big opportunity in that space.
I mean, that's an interesting one. I really always advocated for this platform economy, as you called it. I think you probably just put everything into perspective, and I like the fact that you've given the benefit platform economy. But have you at any point in time faced any issues with the regulator in terms of, implementing the platform economy with most of your products at retail?
That's a very good question, and I think at every opportunity I really praise the Kenyan regulator. I think Kenyan regulator is very progressive and forward-looking, and I think they have been very supportive of adoption of innovation and technology in this space. I think it also comes from the context, right? We have seen something like M-Pesa coming and revolutionizing payment and banking industry in Kenya. So I think because of that experience, even the insurance regulator is very open to such innovation or innovative partnerships. Secondly, we have also had a very healthy conversation with the regulator because, as you know, Britam has been doing this for almost 10 years. We have built a lot of knowledge that we are always sharing across different players and also in our conversations with the regulator. And obviously, issues always come up. So whenever we have new partnerships, we do engage the regulator and we explain how this will be beneficial for customers, how it will be beneficial for the industry. And we have always had a positive outcome of those conversations. I think from the regulator's perspective, the biggest concern has been around customer protection. One concern especially on the digital platforms is, are we explaining the terms and conditions to the customers properly? That I would say has been the big concern for the regulator. But so far, we have been able to address those concerns and we have been working well.
That's interesting. So speaking about the regulator, right? And you talked earlier about going into other markets. I mean, excited about the free trade agreement and things like that. If you were going to, advise some of the other regulators or industries, looking at the glowing remarks that you're giving the regulator now in Kenya, so what should other markets be picking out and adopting in terms of how we are, serving this customer segment that has been excluded?
Right. My glowing reviews are not coming from a selfish point of view that I need product approval. But I really mean that regulator has been very supportive. In fact, if you see, the Kenyan regulator has also launched an InsurTech accelerator program recently. So that's just an example that shows how they are trying to, really innovate in this space. And I would say the similar kind of steps need to be taken elsewhere as well. I've also seen this in India, where I come from, where again the regulator has really been pushing insurance companies to innovate in this space. In fact, they have taken a very interesting route there, where in India, an insurance company has to do a certain percentage of their business in the micro and the social sector. So I think, if I'm not wrong, it's around 7%. So what it has done, it has forced insurance companies to think around that segment on how they can do it in the best possible way, most profitable way. And I know that the regulator in some of the other countries like Tanzania is also thinking on the similar line. So obviously regulation is one way of stimulating the industry. The other ways is, I think, like having these accelerator programs, so also bringing in the insurtechs, supporting them and exposing them to the industry will also be very helpful in, I think, expanding the horizon. And first and foremost, I would say, is having that healthy exchange. Regulator and industry should be on the same side. Realize that low insurance penetration is a challenge, not just from a business side, but also because it has left a lot of our businesses and families vulnerable, as we saw during the COVID pandemic. It has also meant that capital markets are also underdeveloped because a lot of these insurance premiums are invested in capital markets. So I think it's in the interest of everyone to help promote that. And by having that healthy exchange between industry and the regulator would be really, really helpful in, I think, breaking some of these barriers.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much for that. And so, to my claims question, right? It's no coincidence that we're asking this last, right? Because at the end of the day, on the customer journey, the claims experience, yes, is sort of like the last, but it's the premium one, right? That is the promise that you kept when the person signed up, whether a day ago or a week ago, a month ago, a year ago. I was going through some numbers and I saw that as of last year, Britam had done about $20 million in claims payments since 2015. And in 2020, the number that I saw, at least as a half year, was about $2.6 million paid out. That's a lot. Is this a mindset thing? Or how exactly have you been able to achieve this kind of scale? I mean, especially looking at the complexities around giving due diligence and then also meeting the customer expectations.
So, like I was saying in the beginning, our business is highly loss-making, and that is because of like very high loss claim ratio. And I think paying all those claims gave us a lot of experience in this space. So you have to understand that majority of Britain's business in this space is health, for the simple reason that I think health is the most pertinent need for customers in this segment, and they are ready to purchase health insurance compared to other products. And so we have really invested a lot in understanding the whole health insurance ecosystem. Our health insurance products are more like cashless, so you can go to our partner hospitals and access care. In some cases, there might be some small co-payments, like ranging from $1 to $2-3. But what that means is that we work closely with these healthcare partners. We review their claims a lot. We keep tracking averages. So there is a lot of data analytics that goes into ensuring that the portfolio is not loss-making. So we are always tracking claims averages. We also highlight with hospitals where claim averages are going beyond our controls, and we put together some measures to make sure how do we control that. We have negotiated rates with these hospitals along consultations, to some extent drugs as well. So what it means is that we are able to control these costs while ensuring folks are getting the right care when they are going to these hospitals. It's also supported by our claims team. So in fact, our total microinsurance business strength in Britam is around 22, and almost half of that is just claims people. And that also includes healthcare professionals. So we have nurses who have worked in hospitals who are supporting our care or claims team, and having their knowledge obviously helps us in negotiating or working with these hospitals, because you need that level of understanding to ensure that costs are not too high. So I think it's also a tight balance. So it's not that we have put together some measures and now we are good every year. It's a constant process. In fact, like every 2 weeks, we look at our claim ratios, we look at all these hospitals. So often, there are always things that need to be controlled again. So I would say it's that constant process, but having that conscious investment, because we have built the claims team. I was talking about how we have built technology also, some of the portals that we have built. So we realized the point that you were making, that claims is the movement of truth for customers. And if we are able to come for our customers at that point and deliver at that point, they will be happy with us. So having those investments and that conscious decision to help our customers at the point of claims has helped us to manage a healthy claims ratio while delivering good customer service as well.
Fantastic. I mean, at the end of the day, the whole point of having an insurance company, or selling insurance is also to pay claim. But of course, when you put in place all of these risk management measures, I think that's what presents a profitable company at the end of the day. So that's wonderful, really. Okay, before we let you go, though, like Damola said, we'll be excited to hear about your introduction of Britam in West Africa, and as much as possible, we would like to have these conversations with you again when that comes up. So please let us know. We'll be looking forward to it. That's one. Then also thank you for coming on our podcast. For those of our listeners that would like to reach out to you, how exactly do you want them to
So I'm actually very
you?
active on LinkedIn, and I can be very easily reached on LinkedIn. And I'm always happy to engage people with similar interests. So that would be the best way to reach me.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys. And it was very exciting talking to you as well.
Hi, my name is Adeolu Adewumizer. I'm the MD of Allianz in Nigeria, listening from Lagos, Nigeria. And I love and thank IBS Podcast for what they're doing, promoting insurance and technology for the benefit of Nigerians and Africans across the continent. Keep up the good work.
And welcome back. I'm sure that you enjoyed that conversation. I did. A lot of talking points, a lot of things that I learned, really. And I mean, one of the things that I saw that was something to note was the fact that
Hi, everybody. My name is Bent, and I'm the founder and CEO of MTech, and we are based in Kenya. I am very passionate about the disruption of the insurtech space, and together with our model MTech, we are actually serving insurance platform and also white label solutions for the industry. Please keep on listening to Insurtech Business Series podcast, and I hope to see all of you at the conference in December.
they didn't start off profit making, right? You know, when we started the conversation, before we had the conversation, I mentioned how do you actually achieve profitability, even with this new way that you are, going about business, and so they didn't start off being profitable, but with a conscious effort and a strategic outlook, and the mindset that, hey, we have to serve these customers, but we have to find a way that would work, trying new things. I think that, like you said, they found what works. They found what works, and they are leveraging, partnerships with all of these platforms, that are springing up on the continent, and that's quite interesting.
As a matter of fact, you took the word right out of my mouth. But need I also say that I kind of like the ecosystem that, the Kenyan regulator is, building for insurance, especially when it comes to, rescaling insurance in Kenya. Have you really noticed insurance industry in Kenya, based off of our conversation, has seen to some extent, they've seen a lot of progressivity in terms of selling their products, in terms of selling, should I say, micro insurance products for a large number of people, trying as much as possible to cover the underserved markets. Would I be wrong for, having that conclusion? We've had conversations with people like Eunice. We had conversation with Gian Abbas from Kenya as well. We've also had conversation with Louis. And so, having all of this just sort of makes me have that, understanding or insight into the fact that IRA is obviously doing something right. Do you think that this is something that we can replicate, judging by the fact that our market environments are completely different?
Yeah, I think that is something that we need to begin to think about more seriously. And I feel like there is a lot that we should still do. But then we are beginning to see that the regulator, for example, is interested in that bit, is interested in seeing activities in that area. You recall recently they released a memo about microinsurance and how insurance companies can play in that space, and things like that. So yeah, that's going to be interesting. But in terms of the model that will work and how we can achieve it, and I think there's a lot that we still need to do, leveraging partnerships, with all of these fintech platforms or even the other platforms, sort of mentioned, Little Cabs, he mentioned Twigger, he mentioned, Mtiba. How are we partnering with these health tech companies, partnering with these mobility companies? How are we partnering with the hospitality companies who are leveraging tech already, that have the customers? And I think that, little by little, we are beginning to see those, right? We've had Akin Jones, the co-founder of Ella app, on here, and looking at the partnerships that they are leveraging in order to sell health insurance, to their customers. Dr. Ipeme Neto, from Wella Health, how they are partnering with the insurance company AXA Master to offer malaria insurance. So definitely. We are seeing people making ways in those directions, but I think that there's a lot more that we can still do in terms of pushing, that conversation and seeing what, we can achieve really in that space, because the level of penetration is quite low. And then micro insurance is definitely, an instrument or a strategy that we can use to scale insurance and get more people the protection that they need.
Actually, yeah, absolutely right. In fact, very correct. And what you said now just reminds me of the fact that we actually need to, as much as possible, act pretty fast, especially with the African Union, free trade. That's as it should be, as urgent and as important as possible, for us to be able to achieve that and increase that penetration index, increase our GDP, as it were, as well as create much more, tailor-made products and services for our customers, and at the end of the day, eventually contribute to, the unemployment in Nigeria. I think it's exciting to see, really, these opportunities that currently abound. I'm super excited for them as well, But on that note, again, I'm sure that most of you probably enjoyed this conversation. I won't lie, I've had a lot of thoughts about it. It's probably made me have a rethink on how much we can contribute further to the insurance space. And I'm glad that we've even started webinar, as we earlier spoke in our previous episodes, that we're going to have a webinar this year. And so the first one being, again, the agribusiness, has made it, much more important for us to carry on with all of the conversations around insurance. And we might be going, from the regular conventional to unconventional insurance, because there are a lot of different opportunities that abound in this insurance space, especially in Africa. We've seen people doing it, and we know that it's an industry that would likely boom. And so having all of these conversations and bringing it to the fore is what we are all about. And it will be important for you to come on board, join our webinars from time to time. It's going to be quarterly, and we'll be having, thought leaders within the industry and outside the industry, contributors to some of the topics that we intend to share with our audience, in the coming days.
Yeah, so definitely a lot of things will be coming up during the year. The webinar, which we started off, last month, is one. We're going to be having a couple more, as the year comes by, and then there are a lot of things that are in the pipeline, right? And the major thing for us, for InsurTech Business Series podcast is engaging conversations around technology, innovation, and insurance. And that's what we'll continue to do, right? And that's why we are engaging all of these people around the continent and even outside of Africa. So do stay tuned. I would continue to have all of these engagements and see how we can push people to think different, to take action, because there's a lot more that the industry can do, and it just takes us to think differently. Like sort of said, what we have been doing before has not worked. So we definitely need to think of new ways, new business models that can serve the customers that we have, in our markets across the continent.
So on that note, I think we'll be wrapping up for today's episode. I hope that you are able to, catch up on the previous episodes as well as the webinar, which I think is quite important. They are all taking that. And so, again, thank you as much as possible for supporting us. We cannot thank you enough because you are one of the reasons why we have, grown thus far. You keep amazing us every day. And this is a shout out to you. We're hoping that you keep safe. There's still, coronavirus. And so as much as possible before virtually everyone is vaccinated, we hope that you stay safe with your family if you are with them, or you actually keep safe all by yourself. So thank you once again. I am your host Folumi, and signing out with me is my co-host Damola.
Yeah, thank you very much everyone. Stay safe.
Bye.